Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on the best mid laners for Season 5 patch 5.14. So first up on my list, I have Diana. Diana is a really good assassin right now. I think that she's probably the best assassin to pick right now in this meta because her burst is just really good, and once you do hit level 6's Diana, you can pretty much all in any other champion that's ranged or that's like really squishy in the game. Like, she's a really good pick against those squishy mages like Luck. She's a good pick again. She's a pretty good pick against someone like Xerath, because once she does hit level 6, then if she lands her Q on them, she can just go for the all-in and just burst them down really quickly. She's also got pretty good CC with her W and with her E as well, and her shield on her W is also really nice for just when she's diving in, it'll just allow her to negate a little bit more damage. She's also got that great level 6 all-in, like I said, and she's also a pretty strong roamer. When you do hit level 6 on Diana, look to go for roams because you do have that gap closer on your ultimate, so that makes her roams much more effective. And she also is a great split pusher due to her passive. A few cons to Diana is that she does have a weaker early game against some of the ranged mid laners in the game. She is also somewhat mana hungry in the early game, so if you are in a tougher matchup in the laning phase, then just start Crystalline Flask so you can sustain the early game. Next up, I have Twisted Fate. So Twisted Fate is a really good pick for solo queue in my opinion because of its ultimate, and whenever you do hit level 6 as Twisted Fate, then always just look to get that ultimate down bot lane if the enemies are pushing out in lane, because if you can pick up those 2 kills down bot lane, then you're just gonna get your bottom lane fed, you're gonna get fed, and you're just gonna be able to snowball the game from there. He's also got the 2-second point and click stun, which is just so good for team fights. His W's on like a pretty short cooldown as well, so if the team fight lasts long, then you're going to be able to get a few of those gold cards off in a team fight, which is just really good. He's also got pretty good wave clear as well with his Q and with his red card, and he is also a very good tower pusher due to his blue card. It deals a lot of damage to towers, and he's also a pretty safe laner. If you are in a harder matchup in the laning phase, then you can just sit back and farm with your Q, and you can still do well if you are in a harder matchup as Twisted Fate because of that. And he also does have one-shot potential come late game with his gold card and with just using his gold card and then tossing out a Q. A few cons to TF is that he does not have any mobility, so I usually like to run Ghost on TF just to get that added mobility. You can also run Cleanse on him if the enemies do have like a really hard CC team comp, but I usually like to run Ghost as well as Flash on Twisted Fate just to get that added mobility on him. And he is a little bit harder to play too in my opinion because his gold card can be hard to get on the first time around of using your pick a card, but once you can get used to locking in your gold card on the first time around, then he just becomes a really good pick because you'll be able to get that gold card off in team fights just that much faster, and it'll just make him an even more potent pick for you. Next on my list, I have Annie. So Annie is a really simplistic mid lane pick. She basically has like one combo and she's got one job in a team fight, and that's just to get an AoE stun Tibbers off. And due to that, I think that she is she's really easy to play, and she's just got that one combo that she can use in every single team fight. So I think that she's a good pick because of that. And she also has a great level 6 all-in with her stun Tibbers followed by her W and her Q. She's also very strong when she does get ahead as well, because if your team groups as Annie and the enemies get cut out, then you can just look for those flash stun Tibbers, and then you can just even get more ahead because of that. So due to Annie's really strong team fighting and her potential to just change a game with one good Tibbers, I think that she's a great pick. A few cons to Annie are that she does not have any mobility, so you do have to be careful about your positioning, and she is also very predictable because she really only has one combo that she uses. Next on my list, I have Victor. So Victor's got one of the most insane late games in the game. Like, once you get to late game as Victor, you can basically one-shot with an EQ combo on a squishy target, which is just, like, the combo's not even hard to pull off. As long as you can land your E, and his Q's not obviously really easy to land, then you can just burst down the enemy AD carry and just take them out of the fight right away. And then if you do need more damage, you have your ultimate, so, like, the damage coming out of Victor is just really good, and I think he's a great pick because of that. He's also got one of the best wave clears in the game due to his E. He can take out the wave he can take out a full wave without having barely any items, so that just makes him a great pick as well. He's also got really strong zoning potential with his W, and like I said, he does have that one-shot potential. He also has lots of AoE damage with his ultimate as well as his E, and he's also got pretty good mobility in teamfights because once you get your Q upgraded, then it gives you that movement speed, so he can just stay really mobile in teamfights due to that. A few cons though to Victor are that he does not have any mobility in the early game, so you have to be careful that you're not pushing out in lane in the early game, because if you do, then you might be an easy gank target. And his E can also be hard to use at first. It took me a while to get used to using Victor's E, so I wouldn't recommend jumping right into ranked with Victor. Get used to using his E first and then head into ranked with him. And to round out the top 5, I have Ahri. So Ahri is definitely my personal favorite mid laner right now. She's got insane mobility with her Q and with her ultimate, which just makes her a great pick for solo queue because it just makes it so hard for the enemies to gank her, especially when she has level 6, and she can just always look for picks on the enemy mid laner when her ultimate is up, so she's just a really versatile pick in that sense. She's got great pick potential with her charm as well, and like even if you don't have the best laning phase as Ahri, if you can land a charm on the enemy AD carry or the mid laner in a team fight, you could just bring yourself back into the game with one good charm. She's also got pretty good wave clear with her Q and with her W. She's also a very safe laner. If you are in a tougher matchup as Ahri, then you can just sit back and farm with your Q. She's also got a great level 6 all-in due to her very strong mobility, and she's a very good roamer as well because of her mobility and because of her charm. Her sustain in lane is also really nice with her passive. It just allows her to stay in lane, and it allows her to just get all that CS without having to go back. And she also does have that true damage on her Q, which is also really nice. One con to Ahri is that she is very skill shot reliant, so if you aren't confident in landing skill shots, then playing Ahri might not be the best choice for you. Next up on my list, I have Yasuo. So Yasuo is a pretty good pick against these mobile mages that are being played quite a bit right now in the mid lane. He is a little bit harder to play in my opinion, but if you know how to play a good Yasuo, then I definitely think that he is a pretty solid pick right now. Next up I have Talon, so pretty much the same goes for Talon. Talon is a really good assassin, and if the enemy does lock in like a squishy mage in the mid lane, then Talon is a really good pick because he's got great burst potential, and he's also really sneaky with his ultimate. He can just use his ultimate in a brush, jump on his opponent, and burst them down before they can even do anything, so he does have a little bit of a weaker early game, but once you get to late game as Talon, you can just 100-0 someone in like less than a second, so I think he's a great pick because of that. Next up I have Xerath, so if you're looking for a strong poke mage, then Xerath is a very good pick. Xerath and Ziggs are usually compared as the best poke mages in the game. Right now I think that they're both pretty strong, but it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for that AoE damage, then you might want to go with Ziggs instead of Xerath, but if you're looking for longer range and more reliable poke, then going with Xerath would be the better choice. Next I have Orianna. So Orianna is a really safe pick in the mid lane. Her teamfight is also really strong. If you can land a good shockwave in a teamfight as Orianna, then you can just change the game right there. She is a bit harder to play because her ball can be hard to track at times, but overall I think that she is a very solid pick due to her strong laning phase and her very strong scaling into the late game as well. Next I have Varus. So Varus is a really good poke champion as well. He's kind of like Xerath. I'm not sure who I like better for the poke role, if it's Xerath or Varus, but I've had more success on Varus lately than Xerath, so if you're looking for an AD poke champion, then Varus is definitely a very good pick. Next up, I have AP Kog'Maw. AP Kog'Maw actually received some pretty good buffs this patch because the Rylai's, it got that nice buff on it, so you're going to be able to get your ultimates off a lot easier due to the slow coming out of the Rylai's. You're just going to be able to chain your ultimates because if you do hit that one ultimate, they're going to be slowed for a pretty good duration, and then you're just going to be able to hit the next ultimate and the next one as well. And the Liandry's buff also did benefit Kog'Maw as well, so overall I think that Kog'Maw is a pretty good pick this patch. To round out the honorable mentions, I have Lux. So Lux is just a fairly solid mid lane pick. She doesn't have a lot of counters in the mid lane, so if you're looking for a consistent mid lane pick, then I would definitely recommend picking up Lux. She's got her shield, which is really nice for just staying really healthy either in the laning phase or in team fights, and it's also an AoE shield, so you can just use that on all of your teammates, and that just allows your team to stay really healthy. Her ultimate's also on a really short cooldown, so late game, you can just use that to poke down the enemy AD carry and force them to go back, or if they do stay around, they're going to be on really low HP, so I just think Lux is a pretty versatile pick, and she's also got pretty good CC with her Q and her E, so if you're looking for a pretty good mage, then Lux is a good pick. So that is all for the video, guys. If you enjoyed, then don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.